I want to thank every one of you for being here today. This is an important event. This is not an event where we're going to be just like talking to each other, discussing. This is an important event because we're shaping our future. We're building our agenda, and we're doing that for the sake of our community. So it's pretty much going to be actions-oriented, solutions-oriented. We're not going to, pretty much waste more time because we just have no more time. The time for Latinos is now. And what I have learned from leaders that have made us to be so ready and so strong, as everyone in this group that has worked so hard, like Dr. Juan Andrade, is that we have to be impatient. We have to be impatient to take our turn and make it our time. And I just want to start by sharing with you the journey that we started. In 2018, the World Human Foundation, pretty recently created, invited a couple of dozens of people to come to the United Nations to talk about the why. Why do we need to unify? Why is it important to start looking at ways in which together we're stronger? Why? Then the year after, we started building on the what. What is it our agenda? What is it that glues us together? What are the one or two things that really, if we gather around, we're going to make a breakthrough for our community? And then COVID happened. And it came and disproportionately hit our community, took our jobs, took our health, took our lives. So many of us lost so much in COVID. And I want to make sure that we recognize and take a moment to heal that pain of seeing our community so down, of seeing our parents go, of seeing our investments go for a second, of seeing actually how much we suffer because we don't even know if you're an actor like Mauricio, if you're going to make it. If you don't know, like if you're Ana Flores, whether your organization can survive. So I want to make sure that we understand how deep and how hard it was that time for us. And guess what? The way that we were disproportionately affected and disproportionately hit, we're also disproportionately equipped because of our resilience to come back. So here we are, strong again. But the reality of it is that people are eating our lunch. This diversity and inclusion revolution has not benefited the Latino community as we should. We have not seen the millions of dollars poured into our investment. We have not seen the hires. We have not seen the seniority, the representation, and the perception. We have to get our act together, and we have to be by far more strategic so that we can break through. But I am here to tell you that truly, if we unite forces and create a shared agenda and validate the agenda that we had, we can break through because we have all the conditions to succeed. Do you believe that after seeing the data? So COVID happened. We had an agenda before that, it's not only our agenda, what we validated as leaders at the United Nations, but we have agendas, like everybody's fighting for the same things, education, jobs, gender, better health. But I do think that COVID affected us in a way that allows us today and tomorrow to validate that agenda. What is it that is going to help us break through? And immediately after that, I urge you all, so that we together, we don't move so much into the what, because it's enough about talking of philosophy of education. We just need to move into the how. How the hell do we actually get education for all our Latino leaders? How do we get better health? How? How do we do it? What are the solutions, the practical things that we're going to be doing? And after that, from the how, we have to move into the who. Because if there's one talón de Achilles that our community has, is that we're so fragmented and so uncoordinated. There's so many people doing great things. We just have to make sure that all those incredible individual efforts are moved into collective action so that together we can generate systemic and forever lasting change for our community. So what today and tomorrow are going to be, we're going to be looking at our agenda, the agenda of progress. Because I think that you're going to be hearing all the speakers of the world. I don't even know if we're going to, I'm not going to go through the slides. Is that okay? I'm just asking permission to skip my slide. Thank you. What I know is that we do have a number of structural barriers that are in front of us that are really systemic and that we need to address. We have to get better education. We absolutely tackle gender equality. We have to have better gender equality. We have to have better jobs, better access to capital to our entrepreneurs. We have to have better pay. For sure, we have to get better health, particularly at such a crisis. So better health, better education, better jobs, better gender equality. If we can just like go around, we understand that that agenda together is the agenda of progress, the agenda that allows us to move forward. And I'm not advocating for not repeating that, but what I would love all of us to understand is that there are things, barriers in front of us that all of us can tackle and can take change today. And this day and a half, we put the architecture in a very strategic and very intentional way to tackle those. And those are the three main insights that I'm going to share with you that guide every single step, every single move that we do at the World Human Foundation. And I would like all of you, and I know that you have heard it before, but you all know that I'm a broken record, because I do think that it's important that we understand this. We have all the conditions to succeed because we are the population, we're the demographic, we're the economic, we're the job future, we're the we're the entrepreneurs, we're all of that, and yet we're underrepresented, misrepresented, and undervalued. And there are three main things that we're going to talk about that ideally can help us in shift that power again. And the number one insight that I would like to share with you is that 77% of Latinos do not know of their own contributions to the country. 77% of our community does not know of our own contributions to the country. I would like to ask Alejandro Valenzuela, the CEO of Banco Azteca in Mexico, what would happen if 77% of your staff wouldn't know what they're doing? It would be a disaster. Well, that's a disaster we have in our community. We don't have self-regard, and we don't have social recognition because we don't know how powerful we are. We don't know how many we are. We don't know how much we contribute. And we are going to make sure that we get a plan so that that number is down, so that all of us can get the data, know the data, and become a factivist. We don't need activists in our community as much as we need factivists. We need everybody to know of our contributions. 77% is a disaster. The number two insight, and that's going to be part of the program, the number two insight is that 76% of Latinos cannot be themselves at the workplace, according to a survey, that's not ours, according to a survey from the Harvard Business Review. 76% of Latinos cannot be themselves at the workplace. That means that if you're Jorge, you have to pretend to be George when you come to work. And you hide yourself, you leave yourself at home, and you come to work with someone you don't even know. And when that happens, there's an incredible disenfranchisement that happens between yourself and some. So you are working without being yourself, and that's the pain of suppressing your Latinidad and hiding who you are and trying to fit in and trying to be invisible. And that's a shame for us, because it takes the bleed minute after minute of actually having to pretend you're someone you're not welcome. But that's absolutely a shame for companies. Because we're going to go, as loyal as we are, we're probably going to go to a place where we can be, where we're welcome, when we can be ourselves. And it's absolutely a shame, mostly because companies are losing the most important thing that Latinos bring, which is the emotional engagement that we bring to everything we do. Our passion, our hard work, our loudness. So today we're going to be looking at ways in which we can make corporate America more Hispanic friendly. And I think that the third insight, and I apologize for all of you that have, that have heard that for the 2 million times from me, but 90% of Latinos, Latinx, Hispanics, whatever you want to use is fine. We just said whatever is fine. As long as you pay us well, we're fine with whatever you want to use, it's fine. But 90% of us identify as Latino, but do not act as a Latino community. So let me say that again. I identify as Latino, but do not act as a Hispanic community. So that means that we're fragmented, that we don't have a shared, we don't act as a community. The Mexicans don't talk to Venezuelans, don't talk to Colombians, the people of Chicago don't want to invest, the first generation, the second generation, and then we start going into the fragmentation. And then when you made it and you elbow everyone else because you think that it's bananas. That fragmentation is so much our talón de Achilles, so much that it might be the most important barrier that we all have to overcome, becoming a community, Latino unity, Latino pride. That's all we need. We have to move from our scarcity mentality, where we put ourselves into a little bubble, and you talk to the people in Miami and just to the people that you're there, and that's it. And if you look around, well, it looks small, but worse than that, it feels limited, because if there's oxygen, and you might be taking my oxygen, so I don't want you in my bubble. I'm going to try to actually push you out. We have to bust the bubbles. We have to move from a scarcity mentality to an abundance mentality, because there's no shortage of air. Everyone can breathe, and there's not one seat at the table, because there's no table. There's only a country full of opportunities for every Latino if we support each other, if we open the door for each other, and we give access, we share the access code with each other. And those, ladies and gentlemen, are going to be the three main pillars of this Hispanic Leadership Summit. And you're here because I believe, and we believe, that you have something to do, that you have something to say, and that together we can make a difference. So I just want to make sure that we have your commitment before starting. So how is this going to work? The first part is going to be all about data, all about equipping ourselves. Every one of you should actually feel that after this session, you're going to know everything about the Latino community, how many we are, how young we are, how do we buy, how do we invest, where do we do, where's our trust, everything that you want to know about the Latino community. We're also going to be making sure that through that data, we anchor it somewhere so that it's not floating around. So we're anchoring everything that we're doing on frameworks that exist, like the Sustainable Development Goals, so that we can actually make sure that for companies that already are using this type of frameworks, it's easy to put diversity and inclusion on top of sustainability and purpose, so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel on diversity and inclusion and mixing in everything else. So that's the morning today. We're going to have an incredible launch that I'm really honored. I do want to call on Alejandro again, because I think that this is important, and I am really proud to see you here again after 20 years or something like that of not seeing you. But in the afternoon, we're going to be focusing on our agenda. So we talked about the what. We are not going to go and mess around too much about like the why do we have education. It's all about the how. How do we do it? How do we make sure that, you know, like we move forward on health and education, innovative solutions that can be scaled up, things that we should stop doing, and how do we actually move from that to creating the map. So today, in this afternoon, we're going to be talking about health, education, jobs, gender equality, all very focused on making sure that we have a plan. Because if you might recall, you might recall that we have been banging on like, what is the agenda, what is the plan, what is the plan? Last year we brought the Deputy Prime Minister of Ireland to remind us that having a plan matters, and that his country was 10 years ahead on coming out of the recession that Greece and Ireland had, as many other countries, because they didn't discuss too much of like, why did we go into a recession? They just said like, what's the plan to get out of it? And it was all about jobs. So they got schools and leaders and business people and everyone to just move towards jobs. So tonight, this afternoon, we're going to be all about the agenda. What is it? We had an incredible breakfast, I would say, this morning with a couple of leaders. Yesterday, a couple of leaders came together in a bus from Washington to New York, because we just need to get cracking on our agenda. We have to learn how other communities do it. How do we actually just like make sure what are the one or two things that unite us and that we can move our agenda forward. And tomorrow, it's going to be all about mobilizing corporate America. How do we actually make sure that we produce a win-win-win? So that we can have our ally. Number one for me is corporate America, is the one place where all Latinos want to, you know, like produce, supply, sell, work for, etc. And so that we can produce environments that are friendly for Latinos and engaging Hispanics as employees and suppliers, as community, and as the consumer. In the meantime, we're going to produce, and we heard your feedback. You all want to network. You all want to connect with each other. And we don't want to make that a frivolous effort. We want to make it an intentional effort. Because I know that social mobility and upward mobility is a hard thing to crack, because the structures are already very set. The status quo is there, and it's like, duck, duck, and they operate, the status quo operates really tightly, and like the same kids go to the same universities that get the same jobs all the time, and we have to be more intelligent and more intentional so that we can crack the system and so that we can do upward mobility by supporting each other, by buying from each other, by mentoring each other, by literally saying, I'll promote you, I'll hire you, I'll buy from you, because if we don't do it for ourselves, who will? And if we don't do it now, then when? I just want to finish with, again, we're allowing ample time for, and we will grab you. You will see that the World Human Foundation will grab you and say, like, you need to meet this person, you meet this person. Please just go ahead and try to meet as many people as possible in a very intentional way. I am Jorge Ferraez. I would like to have companies that advertise with me, with Latino leaders. I am Jorge. I would like to have more leaders in the Boston so that we can actually just be open about what our agenda and how do we support each other. The last thing is, the United Nations opened up the space for a very limited group of people so that we can go tomorrow for a luncheon that ideally will happen. And we're going to invite particularly, like that discussion about the Hispanic Promise, which is the corporate tool to hire, promote, retain, and celebrate Hispanics, backed by more than 29 organizations, Latino organizations, and signed by more than 250 companies. So I hope that that is something that can happen, and that those of you that are involved in the Hispanic Promise can join us. I cannot emphasize enough how overwhelming I feel about your trust, about you being here. Demonstrates that you not only believe in the dream, in what we see, but also that you believe that we can deliver. And I can just assure you that we will move whatever it takes until we'll do whatever it takes from our side, and we will not stop until the job is done. Welcome to the Hispanic Leadership Summit 2021. Thank you for being here.